Alright, hey again, Meteorologist here in Tuttle with you, watching these storms that have been coming in from western Oklahoma, and one of them has finally reached severe weather criteria. These have been pretty lame storms up to this point, but they finally gotten strong to at least produce some severe weather criteria hail, which means it's greater than 1 inch in diameter. So we're going to go ahead and start talking about it, plus it's kind of getting into the boundary area of the cold front I mentioned. The wind speeds are still pretty light around the surface, so again the tidal threat is very low. It's not completely zero, so we'll just kind of track it for a little bit, and as this thing kind of blows on through town, since I'm sitting here watching it anyway. So welcome. We'll just take it minute by minute. I'll just kind of break it down for you as to if the storm holds anything that's dangerous to you besides the typical lightning, a little bit of hail, a little bit of wind. All right, so again, it's there's a storm kind of rolling on in, looking in the sort of the west of my roof cam, so we'll have a good view of the storm as it makes its way on into the west side of town. As far as the actual heaviest core is concerned, right now it's kind of going from around the Mustang area just to the south and west toward Tuttle, this little pink, purple region that you see. Hail sizes estimated by Doppler radar up to about golf ball size, and we talked about that in the forecast here earlier on this evening. So I hear some of you are tired of the storms, Sherry. I see your comment there. But they also had a little bit of wind with it. So this particular case, this straight line winds, so we're about 67 miles per hour. So what I'll do is I'm going to plot some of these wind speeds on the radar. So I'm going to turn that one off, turn this one on, and then we're going to start plotting those for you so you can see them. But right now, it's just your standard Oklahoma thunderstorm. It does not have any significant low-level rotation there to produce anything close to a tornado. So that's good news for you. We'll just see if it remains that way. I'll have to actually see something to see if I was going to change my mind on that. And that's what we're here for, just kind of watch it for a minute. As I mentioned, the wind's up around close to 70 miles per hour coming in on the southwest side of Mustang. So if you want to know where that's at, let's see, we're talking about southwest 104th and cross street of coming up on Checkraw Road. So that's probably where the strongest winds will be, and that'll be moving to the north and east. So pretty much running right over south side of Mustang. So you're going to get a little bit of wind out of that. And the Doppler radar is estimating this, let's see, where are we at? About 1,000 feet off the ground to get the 66 mile per hour range. So not bad. You're going to shave probably about 5, maybe 10% of the total. So you're still looking at about 60 mile per hour winds reaching the surface at this point in time. And we also mentioned the fact that we have a little bit of hail with this. Hail algorithms have picked up just a notch or so up to about golf ball size. That's where we have like these little orange areas, and I can show you that on another viewpoint here. I'll just switch that over here real quick. Mean estimated hail size and probability. There we go. So actually kind of increase here a little bit in just these two little cores. So one core there, and so both of these hail cores are also kind of co-located where some of those stronger winds are at. So the intersection, again, southwest 104th and just west of Check Hall Road, and then down here to south and west. Let's see, we are East Silver Ping Road, and give me another intersection here. You can do it. Come on, you can do it. Ella, Tyler, these are little neighborhood communities, about 3 miles west of 4. So there's North Richland Road. So some of these roads don't get labeled in the database, which is always frustrating. Just west of Frisco Road looks like. So there you go. So what we try to do is try to label as many of these little streets and side streets as we can. New scan came out. The hail size dropped a little bit on that southern part of the storm. The one going over Mustang, though, still pretty good. So here's some of the communities in here, some of the roadways for the neighborhoods. Southern Heights, let's see, what do we got? South Mustang Road, of course, running parallel on 152, just kind of south of the road. And then, so the neighborhoods that run on the south side, getting some pretty good hail right now. Let me see here, the size of that, still about 2 inches, 2 inches. That was a little high, or 2.5. Question is, though, is it really 2.5? We're going to have to go find out. I'm going to flip over and Pretty good rotation within this now, though, right over the Mustang area. Now that again is broad, so it's not tornadic yet. It's outflow dominated, so it's an RFD type rotation, by the way. So I want to go ahead and let you know about that, so you don't get too upset and too worried. Okay, so on the hail size, let's go up here. Let me take a look at ZDR, CC, and KDP. Okay, so it's a lot of melting hail within this. So the hail sizes aren't as big as what the algorithms are saying. So we're probably still getting golf balls to as most, I think, 2 inches, probably mostly under 2, just based off of the some of these algorithm that we have on the radar. So it's probably just under that size, but that's still pretty good size hail. Let's see, the report we've got so far, 1 inch size hail, 1 mile southwest of Mustang. So there you go. So we've got at least 1 inch size hail so far out of this being officially reported. By the way, the probability of a tornado has increased from around what was hovering around 1-2% to now 32%. So that is a ramp up situation where things have gotten stronger, and that's likely because this RFD wind has kicked in quite a bit. Now keep in mind, winds may be, let me draw it in this fashion, coming out of the storm in this direction way more stronger than they are going back in this direction. That's a limiting factor for tornado genesis, but it does indicate some strong circulation itself, aka a supercell, which you knew would be coming through. And if you remember the model data, remember how I told you just kind of hug 240 going through the metro? So it's right on the path, so it's going where it's supposed to go, and the timing is right. It's now midnight. The only thing we have still to watch for is that surface boundary. So where is the front that it would ingest, right? Okay, so we've got a pretty good, I'm going to draw a line here. This represents a northeast wind feeding into the mesocyclone, because that's along, looks like a little bit of an axis line. Let me see if I have any other good markers for the front. It is so diffuse, and actually that kind of works out in our favor. A boundary that's stronger, that has a little more convergence on it, has a lot more spin along the boundary itself. When wind speeds are so light and the boundary's a little diffuse, you have a lot less of that baroclinic vorticity I spoke of earlier, which the storm can ingest to produce a tornado. So because of the fact that the winds are a little lighter and the boundary's a little less diffuse, or more diffuse, it's not nearly as strong. But the gradient, I'm looking at the meso map here, so it does bring it right in to that area. Okay, so the front is right where the models had indicated, the high resolution models, so we'll have to watch to see if this storm can do anything with that little extra spin in the atmosphere. So we'll watch it here, and that way if it does decide to produce a tornado, you'll be able to know about it as we speak. Alright, so it does have that little bit of a notch to it in the reflectivity structure. Again, the winds associated with this was mostly in one direction, so that's good. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give you the wording, by the way, on this that came out of the National Weather Service a few minutes ago. Severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect until 12:30 for northeastern Grady County, southwestern Oklahoma, northwestern Cleveland, southeastern Canadian, and northwestern McLean counties. Severe thunderstorm located, of course, over southwestern Oklahoma City, or 4 miles northwest of Tuttle, moving northeast at 30. Ping pong ball size hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts are expected. And we've got, of course, southwestern Oklahoma City right now, Moore, Newcastle, Yukon, Bethany, Mustang, War Acres, The Village, Tuttle, Nichols Hills, Union City, Minco, Valley Brook, and Woodland Park. So we said, northeast at 30. So let's go take a look at this. And we'll put a storm track on here for you. So it's 65 degrees. And we'll track what would be the damaging wind part. Oh, get off of there. Try that again. I clicked too soon. So make sure you get a more accurate time. All right, northwest 30 miles per hour. There we go. All right, So Valley Brook at 1222, Smith Village 1227, Dell City 1228, Midwest City, Tacoma Park, there's 1243, Choctaw 1249, and 1 o'clock in the morning at Hera. So we mentioned in the forecast at 9:30 tonight how most of it would be kind of moving on the east side of town by 1 o'clock in the morning. So we've got about an hour for these storms, the leading edge of them anyway, to clear from west to east. And more than likely, the earliest storm will be the strongest as far as what's going to move on through. All right. So again, severe thunderstorm warning for the southern side of Oklahoma County, including Oklahoma City, stretching down to Tuttle, and then it'll be eventually here back east toward Moore. Moving to the east at about 30 miles per hour. Let's see what we got here for updated wind speeds. It looks like they may have picked up a little bit right here. So there's 70 mile per hour winds. All right, so where are these strongest winds now? All right, Southwest 104th is the main intersection and South Council. So that's the region in which the winds are the strongest. It's this little section right here that's bounded by about 2 miles by 2 miles. So it looks like County Line Road is on the western fringe of it, and let's see, Rockwell is on the eastern fringe, and that'll be up on 44 here in a moment. So this is passing just south of the airport, looks like. All right, so there's some damaging straight line winds from a mesocyclone supercell. And again, there's your time of arrival from Oklahoma City all the way up to Choctaw over the next 50 minutes or so. All right, let me go back in. I'm going to flip back and forth between different radars like I usually do, so we can make sure we got a good analysis of the storm and to see if anything jumps out at me. Okay. So the area of interest as far as the overall circulation is going to be this spot right here, which is, by the way, just so you know, it's enough to have a nice wall cloud with it. Of course, it'll be low to the ground because it's dark, and there is enough movement in the air to make it look like it's spinning and moving. So we've got enough of that. There's nothing tight in the gradient, though, to indicate tornado genesis is imminent at this moment, but it is kind of what we call broad rotation and much weaker than what we've seen throughout the week. But it's in the right spot. It's of the storm cell. It's riding along that little vorticity boundary. So we'll see if anything happens with it. Probability of a tornado is now at 39% for this particular storm. I'm looking at the terminal Doppler weather radar, so we can look at some really small beamwidth structures, try to pinpoint any little tiny baby development of any little vorticity. By the way, thank you for the stars tonight on Facebook, and thank you for the super chat on YouTube. Appreciate that. All right, let's see. We're going to flap over here to the other radar view, get another look at this one. Turn that one off so I can see the radar a little bit better. It's interesting how one radar can have a really good view of something versus another. Let's see here. Whereas this radar shows a little bit better convergence over the rotation area, this one's a little more broad and a little weaker. Two different radars. One's a NextRad radar out here at Twin Lakes, and the other one is the Oklahoma City terminal Doppler weather radar located down there just around the Norman and Moore area. So this one's a lot closer, so I have a lot better view of it and better estimates of the wind speeds. Let me look at the shear real quick. So the wind field here at the last minute, literally the last volume scan, has become an east wind at 15 knots, turning up to a southeast wind at 20. Missing data here, probably still a little weaker in this realm, and of course weaker winds in this area, but it is improving like the models did suggest. So we could end up seeing a small tornado develop out of this. Looks like the way things are going. If that, again, that would be the case, it would run right along the 240 corridor. And if that happens, I'm going to send out a message to all my app users that would be in the path. I didn't want to wake them up unless I needed to. But some of them, or most of you guys, may already be awake because you knew this was coming and you couldn't sleep. I get it. I definitely get it. All right, wind speeds up here. Let's see, what are we at? Still about 68 miles per hour. Still pretty good. Let's take a look over here. Let me turn that off. I think that warning may have updated a little bit on the wording, so we'll take a look at that. All right, winds still 50 to 60 miles per hour, so they've come down just a hair. And we're on Meridian Avenue and 89th Street. So that's where the strongest pockets of wind are, between that and Southwest 104th. If you're watching from elsewhere in the metro, you do not have anything of that to worry about. We're kind of focused down here on the south side. Still moving to the east at about 30 miles per hour. I'll focus this back over to the reflectivity. And you can see the rainfall here in Edmond and Guthrie. So some light to moderate rainfall in that realm. And then back down here southwest toward Amber and Chickasha, we'll have to watch this storm in Chickasha as it kind of works its way toward the Norman area. This one has really got a notch in it right here, which typically means it's trying to wrap up into a tornado type situation. The winds don't quite work out well with the reflectivity structure on that view. But tell you what, anytime you see something like that, it's going to get your attention. Let me look at the terminal Doppler weather radar. Yeah, because it wraps up in on itself. Oddly enough, there's a nice sensor there to catch any huge gust of wind because it's over the airport. All right, so far we have a nice couplet of wind where it's kind of wrapped up in on itself, but the wind speeds are still very weak here. Let's see, these winds are up around 78 miles per hour now. And what is this on Southwest, or MacArthur? It's on MacArthur Avenue, north of 89th. So that little pocket of wind is showing up there from the terminal Doppler weather radar. Probability of a tornado is now at 60%. Okay, so you see how that ramped up? It was at 39, I think, percent a minute ago. And once we were using this tool a lot this week, if you noticed, the way it ramps up is far more important than the final number. So this is ramping up to a developing tornado. So at this point, itchy trigger fingers are hovering above the keypad here from the National Weather Service, ready to just press the button. So they're going to watch a lot of the storm track crews to see if they can't see anything in these night shots, which is very hard to do. And they're going to watch this radar data to see if it tightens up just a little bit more. And because it's going into a highly populated area, they will err on the side of caution versus waiting too late, especially what happened from 5 o'clock in the morning yesterday. So I'm just telling you the thought process of how this stuff works. All right, so good strong cell, and this is, I'll put it in this color here, the wraparound structure that comes in like this and then wraps back up like this. So it's a good structure on reflectivity. It's just lacking a little bit in the velocity, and the saving grace up to this point has been the fact that our surface winds have been out of the east at about 5 knots. If they were 15 knots to 20, we'd already have a tornado. There's a huge difference in wind speeds with kinetic energy, etc., with what happens in the lowest levels. But we'll also have to see kind of what happens with the rest of the structure of the storm. If it tries to line out a little bit, then it's going to change its structure, which it may be trying to do here. I've seen a lot more of elongated look in the core, which could mean just collapsing of one of the cores, and then that has to cause the whole cell to recycle. And while it's recycling, then it would weaken. All right, so new severe thunderstorm warning came out. Latest on this. Severe thunderstorm warning in effect for southern Oklahoma County, northern Cleveland, northwestern McLean, Storm is located over the southwestern Oklahoma City area, Will Rogers Airport, moving east at 30, winds of 70 miles per hour, and ping pong ball size hail. And of course, you've got the whole south side in the path of this. So let's get an update on the track here. All right, so that includes Valley Brook at 1224, Del City 1229, Midwest City 1234, Choctaw 1250, Hera 102, and McLeod at 108. Now this is tracking the most dangerous part of the thunderstorm, which actually happens to have the hail with it, potential tornadic activity, and the damaging winds that we've seen so far around 70 miles per hour. So it's got a nice wall cloud with it. It's got nice winds with it. Matter of fact, we'll tell you where the strongest winds are at this moment. And they are up around 70. There's 80 miles per hour. Now, some of this you've got to subtract a little bit of percentages off for friction down to the surface, because we are probably about 600 feet off the ground here, but we're pretty close. And that is going to be on Southwest 54th, of course, right over the airport, really, South Meridian, coming up on 44 and Portland. So that's where those stronger winds will be here in a moment. Of course, down here off of Drexel Avenue, east of 44, and what was this, 89? Or, yeah, 80, Southwest 89. The other patch of wind down here is about 60. So those where your strongest winds are located within this cell. And then again, your time of arrival, your movement to the east, northeast at about 30 miles per hour. It's got a nice occluded structure to it. And anytime you usually see a donut hole, you're usually dealing with a tornado. So we're very fortunate this has not done that at this point in time. Yeah, still got broad circulation. So in other words, we're over a 1-2 mile range here and a 1-2 mile range here. We need it to be more in a 1 square mile. Get some gate to gate values in this square mile and you've got a tornado, but right now we don't. We have more just elongated large wall cloud and some straight line winds here behind it. By the way, the latest position on those winds, where we have May Avenue, so between 44 and May, just south of 59th, and where the 240 split is off of 44, it's where the strongest winds are. And radar still estimating about 70 miles per hour now in that area. So we have a little bit of a damaging wind storm event here on the south side of town rolling through on 240. So it'll run right along the highway. So any cars on the road, if they're traveling east and west, it's not that bad of a deal, right? If you've got a westerly wind and you're driving into it from an east to west fashion, you're going to notice it being windy and it's going to slow you down, but it's not going to blow you off the road. Rather, as if you had a crosswind, then you're dealing with a whole different aspect. But so fortunately, it's parallel to the interstate here. Now, when it crosses over 35, if it still holds its own, obviously that's not good because that's a crosswind. Just like when it came over 44, that was a crosswind. So the way that place is outlined is kind of good and bad in different areas. Probability of a tornado has dropped down to 49%, so it's actually lowered a hair. So that uptrend that it was doing is reversed. But I'm telling you, the overall structure to this, where it comes back in and it rotates back in, if it was any other setup right now, guys, you wouldn't even want to know the outcome of this. It would not be pretty. We are very fortunate that the wind field is very weak tonight compared to the last couple of nights. I'm telling you right now, you do not want to see what the outcome was given this exact same scenario with another 15 knots added to it. So Weather Service is describing everything I just told you. The included low-level mesocyclone may try to produce a quick funnel or quick tornado. Recent lowest level reflectivity doesn't look good as the RFD pushes ahead of the south side of the mesocyclone. Could get some really dangerous winds there. And going to probably introduce a possible tornado warning tag. In other words, they keep it as severe warning, but they include in the wording potential quick tornado. Probability of a tornado is at 41%. This is down the south side again, Oklahoma City. So if you're watching from any other area, and I'm not talking about you, it's because You don't have anything else to talk about. We do have another storm down here between Chickasha and Amber. It's a good thunderstorm, but it's not severe. And now it may become severe later, but right now it's not severe. We'll keep an eye on it. But right now, the only severe thunderstorm is the one moving through in the south side of Oklahoma City, so we're going to focus on that. We do see the purples on the map that indicates hail size up to around golf ball size. So we do have some large hail thrown in here every now and then. Right now, that's along 44. Moving to the east at 30 miles an hour. Now, technically, you don't necessarily have to be in your shelter, but if you want to, it would be a bad idea if you live along 240 and 1 mile north of 240. So let's say bounded by, was that 59th, Southwest 59th Street. If you live basically east-west along 59th and 240, it might not be a bad idea just to go ahead and be in your tornado shelters. That way, you're out ahead of it. Now, there's not a tornado yet, and there may never be one. And if one forms, it could just be a small, quick one. Regardless, if you feel more comfortable that way, you don't want to wait till that moment comes, then go ahead and seek shelter. If not, you can sit here and watch it with me. We're going to watch it together, and I'll tell you if that changes as soon as we get some new data that indicates that. Okay, let me go back to the terminal Doppler weather radar. Let's see what we got here. So far, so good. We're not getting any gate-to-gate type of shear in the atmosphere. It's just a pretty mean, vicious little thunderstorm. Probability of a tornado update is at 43%. By the way, the terminal Doppler weather radar did a very good job at tracking that small QLCS tornado in the morning hours yesterday. It did a lot better than NextRad, which is the way that radar actually works well for. It has a smaller beam width and it can handle a little better resolution to pick up those smaller vortices. And it being so close, actually, they're both radars are pretty close to this event, so they should both get a good view of it, but this should get even a little bit better one. And right now we're just not seeing it. Matter of fact, I think it's changed over its structure. Let me look to see. Yeah, structure still looks pretty decent there. Let me go here. Yeah, become a lot more occluded. In other words, we have this hook 6 pattern, right? Well, at one point we had a nice donut hole, there was a nice heavy reflectivity structure around it, and that's all filled in. So it's kind of collapsed on itself. So that's good. That's what you want to see for a little disruption. It's still riding along the boundary though, which is anchored pretty close to 240. So, crazier things can happen. Wind speeds have come down just a bit, whether you see on the blue. No, I take that back. That's up around 70 miles an hour. Let's go get you an update on that. So let's get this off the map. By the way, it's a lot of hail you see there in purple. Let's change this on over. Latest probe of winds, there's 50, 60, 70 miles per hour, all in this little light blue shaded area. So everywhere you see here is 50 to 60 miles per hour with gusts to close to 70. Alright, so that is severe thunderstorm warning winds. And this is going to be just west of 77. Main Street's on Walker, so it's crossing over Walker. In just a moment, it'll be crossing over Santa Fe. North side of this is up around Grand Boulevard, and of course the south side is right along 240. So that's where the bounded area is. Strongest winds, which kind of correlates to the mesocyclone middle, is up around 59th. So this will continue to track to the east. Let me give you another update on this for the timeline. So we still have Valley Brook here. A couple minutes. We got Del City, 1234. Midwest City, 1239. Tacoma Park, 1249. Choctaw, 1255. Harrow, 106. And McLeod also coming up at 113. Okay. So historically, we have had some reports of at least inch and a quarter size hail. Official warning has been a hail up to ping pong ball size, so basically up to 2 inches. Here's one report that had come out to 1.75 inches. So official 4 miles west-southwest of Valley Brook, and that is golf ball size hail. They're on 240 and Penn. And then we have had some wind gusts officially at the Mesonet, 68 miles per hour. No, it's official Weather Service station. And a 70 mile per hour winds. So there you go. 65 to 70 has been confirmed in that area we were tracking them. So this storm is really gusted out. It's this basically wall of reflectivity going in this direction. So that typically means that the storm is gusted out, and it looks like that's exactly what's happened. All right, so that's good news. When that happens, that kills the inflow, and it disrupts the entire circulation of the storm, and then therefore you can't really produce a tornado in that situation until the storm reorganizes. So it basically killed itself, is the way that radar is viewing it from that angle. Now we need another angle to view it from to verify that approach, to make sure there's nothing that's trying to redevelop back here on the north end in this area on 35. And so I will look at that. So far it looks okay there. Let me update my warning motion movement. Okay, looks good. Let me go to Twin Lakes. And we're going to update the warning criteria on that one. Alright, yeah, everything looks good okay as far as rotation goes. That's all over with. Right now is a straight line wind situation around Valley Brook right now. It's all the little light blue you see on the map. It's all around 60 to 65 miles per hour. Down here in the blue area, it's 65 to 70 miles per hour. Coming up is between 77 and Business 77. It's on the east side of Moore, northeast of Moore. The intersection here is going to be on 104th Street, bounded by 89th, and coming up right on Sunny Lane Road. Of course, that comes up on State Highway 77. So you've got about a 2 mile radius there. So Weather Service just came out with a statement that said any threat of a tornadic activity has gone away at this point with the RFD surge. So this looks to be a wind and hail threat for Oklahoma City. So good news. And probability of tornado has dropped down a little bit, 39%, but this algorithm obviously is silly because we've already determined a few minutes ago that there was no chance. So it should really say 0%. Now, the only issue where we could get something to change would be up here where the storm has to reorganize north of Valley Brook between there and Del City. And that wouldn't happen for a while. Probably by the time it got to the split here of 240 and 40, it would probably take about that long to get something going there. So until that period happens, we're in good shape. So now we're just back to our typical severe thunderstorm in Oklahoma. Okay, so let me focus on this one here real quick. Make sure nothing's happening while we're focused up there. A little tail end here at Chickasha. See if anything's going on with that one. All the winds looks good there. Light, so no big deal. So it's this leading edge right now is still the only storm of significance. It's the only storm that is severe. And it's what we see in Oklahoma. Okay, so let's shift over to the hail issue. So you see all the purple and white on the map here. So that's where algorithms are predicting up to 2-inch size hail. Now let's find out if that's really true. All right, so we're going to do a little analysis here. So keep watchful here in this quadrant. We're going to watch whenever I switch over some products to see if things go to a negative value. Should be some gray here, and there's not. It's a ZDR, okay? So that's a negative. Let's go to CC. Cross correlation coefficient. There's some low here values around 95%, not low enough. All right, let's go to KDP, and it should be absent. Nope, not it. Therefore, it is not 2-inch size hail. It is melting hail. So it's hail that's has a nice sheen of water coating on it, and in this particular case, also likely a lot of smaller hail kind of clumped together in large amounts, which gives the impression that you have 2 or 3 smaller hail sizes as one big hail size. So that when we look at the dual pole products like that, we can differentiate between singular hailstones of that size and then smaller ones, or hail that's just melting a lot in the melting layer, and then bright banding and giving a false reading. Okay, so that extends on down to Valley Book. Now there's no doubt some big hailstones in there. It's just over that large area. It's not all that size, which is good. Nobody wants a 10-mile swath of 2-inch size hail. But you're going to occasionally get some golf balls thrown in there. Now this little spot here came up in intensity just in this last scan. So I imagine here in this little spot is probably going to be some significant size hail. Okay, so the ZDR dropped here, so that's good. So we're basically looking in this region. That's the center part. And let me see the CC cross correlation coefficient. Still not low enough. Let me see a KDP. Nope, not absent. No, it's still not quite 2 inches in diameter. So usually this is we're at 69.5 dBz. So when you get that kind of a value of the reflectivity, you typically get hail size that's at least golf balls. And we can look aloft to see how tall that core goes. This is a vertical cross section. Let me go to 3-dimensional view. And then we're going to see what we got in there. So there's a 3-dimensional view of that. And that's a large hail core. So it goes back to the estimation that there's just a lot of hail aloft. All this hail is holding aloft, and some of it's coming down. So you're going to have an occasional chunks in there that are probably golf ball size hail. You might have 1 or 2 that are 2 inches, but the majority is going to be golf ball or lower. Now, golf ball is what you need to do damage to roofs, by the way. If it's really good wind-driven hail, 1 inch will do as far as damage goes, but it's usually minimal. But once you get golf ball and higher, that's where you have to get the roof man out. So if you'd like to get a roof man that is going to treat you right and knows what he's doing, give Ferguson Roof Systems a call. Tell them I sent you. They'll cut you a deal. And they were just in Norman just this week as well, just because of the damage. And they still, I think, were finishing up claims. I talked to Jamie Ferguson today. He said they were still finishing up their storm claims from the last hailstorm. And then they got hit again. And I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, I feel sorry for you guys that have to deal with those kind of back-to-back hailstorms. That's a nightmare. So, but back into this area here in Del City, Midwest City, so some pockets, pretty good wind. That's about 76 miles per hour at 500 feet elevation. So a lot of that's hitting the surface. That's impressive. So some strong straight line wind pockets in here. And let's see, I'm going to just tell you the roadway. That's along 77, by the way, and intersection of Southeast 15th Street. That's where that pocket wind is. The other one is down here on 240 between Air Depot, and 77 Sooner. Okay, so those are the 2 pockets of wind. Again, no tornadic activity, so that's good news. Still some heavy rain with it. Like I said, a little mixed in with some hail. We'll focus on these guys down here to the south to see if they end up doing anything. There's a little bit better instability in general down here if they don't gust themselves out. So see this line right here? Like this. This is a mini gust front. And this is where the winds have already collapsed and pushed out ahead of the storm. That weakens the storm. So you can see how weak they are back here. So here, it has not gusted out yet. So here is a chance to pull in some fresh air from the east. So we'll watch the storm coming in north of Blanchard to see if it has a tendency to do anything. But meanwhile, our storm up here on the east side is still going strong and not doing anything tornadic. Ironically, the probability of a tornado is still at 49%, probably just because the storm itself just has some decent mid-level rotation with it, and it's still got some good pockets of surface wind. I'm looking aloft right now. Yeah, the whole thing is just rotating. It's just a big spinning beast. It's pretty impressive, actually. Okay. So let's do another track on this. It's been a minute. We'll take it to the leading edge of where we have the most damaging winds. Let's see, that's a 65 mile per hour wind gust there. So another verification of that. And hail size 1.8 inches, so just about golf balls. Harrah 102, McLeod 108, Meeker 131. So that's the leading edge where we're getting some of these pockets of damaging wind, and then some of the hail comes in right after that. You know, that brings up a good point. I didn't put the 2 and 2 together. I told you wind-driven hail, even if it's smaller, can do a lot of damage, such as just large hailstones without the wind component. and yet this is actually co-located with the wind, so it actually is some pretty good wind-driven hail, which will do some damage to some roofs. It doesn't have to be the 2 inches I was looking for in the algorithms. So yeah, there's plenty to talk about that it didn't dawn on me. Well, Aaron, that's what you're actually looking at, dude. Pay attention. So anyway, so that's the latest with that. It's again on the east side now, so it's pushing east of I-35, north to south. So if you live in Edmond, you guys, I hope you enjoyed your rain. I got an inch at my house. That's awesome. Loved it. I finally got some decent rains because all of September I was bone dry. Huge cracks in the yard. Now they're all full, so that's good. Time to mow again. But that good beneficial rain continues to move through Guthrie, then east there, Perkins, Cushing. These storms will not be severe, by the way. They're behind the cold front. They're in the more stable air. So enjoy the rain. The only threat for severe weather, really, if you remember the model data, is kind of in this quadrant here, up to about this quadrant here, and then running pretty much right along the turnpike once it kind of gets past the Stroud area. So not quite to Tulsa. It should stay south out of Tulsa, but this would be the more favored area for a little enhancement as far as moisture convergence and all that stuff, and with the front. But anyway, so that's what we got here as we go past the 1 a.m. hour. All right. Now, if you notice here, remember when I told you you'll have to watch toward the split of 240 and 40 to see once this thing reorganizes? Remember that? And if you look at this right here, what do you see? You see a new little notch. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean anything yet, but that's the reorganization process I was talking about that would have to happen to see if this thing even had a chance to do anything more. And it's very close to the radar, so the radar will have a very good view of that development. And of course, it'll also have a good view of the winds that continue to come out of it as well. Now, let's see if they've dropped a little. Looks like they may have. Yeah, we're down to about 50 to 60 miles per hour. So there you go. And the ones up here have dropped down considerably. So it's lost a lot of its wind in the last couple of volume scans. The volume scan is when the radar beam does one of these things, goes up, goes up, goes up, goes up, comes back down, goes up, goes up, goes up, goes up, comes back down. It circles, and it does that entire atmosphere in 5 to 6 minute time frames, usually, unless they go to a 3 minute time frame. But anyway, so during those times, the winds obviously will come up and down, the hail will come up and down. And so each update is different. And so during that process of a couple of those volume scans, the severity of it has weakened. All right, let me see on some of these other radars again what we have to work with. Probability of a tornado is up to 65%. It is now increased. Now, that could just be a function of the storm reorganizing. Remember this little notch here? So we'll have to see if we're onto something. Hey, remember the winds I told you up here? East of Del City, Midwest City, there's a confirmation of 70 miles per hour. So that's what we were measuring on radar. So far, radars are doing very good at measuring what is actually occurring at ground level. All right, let's go back up here. We'll track the leading edge. So far, nothing there. Even though the reflectivity structure looks better, the wind is not cooperating on those views. But let me check this one out. Okay, that one might be, and I want you to notice something. We do have an inflow tail right here, this guy. He's a feeder band, and he's feeding into the updraft right here. Okay, so that's a sign of some reorganization and strengthening and potential recycling of the mesocycline. So we would have to wait and see then if this helps to get back its ability to try to produce a tornado. The last time it looked like it could, it was when it was on the southwest side of Oklahoma City, coming up along the 240 and 40 split. And then after that, it kind of lost that structure as it worked its way to 35 and has not had it since. So we'll see if it can do anything at this point. It's going to still be a few more minutes before it does, though. Still undergoing some changes. And a little collapsing of itself, a little too close to the rest of the body of the storm. It's not separate enough, we'll see. So thanks again for joining me, for liking and sharing this video, posting it on your wall so that your other friends and family can see it, so they can get an alternate approach to cover severe storms here in Oklahoma. It's a little different take. I used to work for the TV stations for 12 years, and there's a way you have to do it in TV, and there's a way that you don't have to do it, and I'm doing it the way you don't have to do it in TV. It's the more calm approach, and I'm just giving you scientific information to help you make your decision, keep you calm, more level-headed, keep that prefrontal cortex engaged, think logically, not irrationally or emotionally, so you can make sound decisions and make sure you and your loved ones are safe. So that's the approach I take. I hope it works out for you. I get a lot of feedback that people seem to like that approach, which is good. This market kind of went a little crazy with weather about a decade ago and never recovered. So I figure I'm a pretty good alternative to what this market became, and trust me, it's everybody knows this nationwide in the weather community. It's no secret. They all think we're crazy down here. Nobody wants to work in this market. It's too over the top nuts. And then people who don't really love severe weather, tornadoes, and get into all the details of radar will get eaten up for breakfast. You can't live and last in this market. It's too high strung. So I don't know, it's like a bunch of Riddling weather, man. It's just nuts, man. So it can really drain you. But so luckily the way I do it, I just cover the tornadoes part, because we get thunderstorms in here all the time for every year, and I'd drive myself batty if I had to cover every single storm in Oklahoma for just a little typical wind and hail. Alright, so let's see here. Still watching the evolution of this, seeing if it gets any stronger. Probability of a tornado is still about 67%. A little bit of hail still back out here along, was it southeast 29th? And this is at Douglas. Yeah, it's Douglas. That's where the biggest hail is located currently. And the wind with that's come down a little bit. The strongest wind south of that intersection. Still on Douglas though. And where are we at? Southeast 36th Street. So just south of the 40 exit. A little pocket of wind over here, Blackjack Ridge, and southwest Westminster. So right now it's the last lone wind gust, and that's about 50 to 60 miles per hour, so that's come down quite a bit. So we're getting dangerously close to not even being a severe thunderstorm, just so you know. You got to have winds at least of 58 miles per hour. And we're struggling to hit that on the radar data, and we're only about 290 feet off the ground. So this is ground level true estimations. So if something doesn't change quick by the rule, you got to drop the severe. Hail size down at 0.6 inches, 0.4 inches. This storm is really dying fast. At least, well, I don't want to say dying. Let's just say it's very weak right now. So it lost a lot of its intensity. It may gain it back, but for right now it is in a weakened state and is nowhere near the man it used to be. Alright, this view a little bit different. Still 50 mile per hour winds though. There's 55. It's a little better. Okay, keep an eye on this guy down here in Newcastle and Moore and Norman. We'll see what comes your way out of this. Let me check out the wind speeds here. Nothing to write home about. Probability of a tornado on this one is 6%, wind 56%, hail 33%. So it's probably increasing a little bit in intensity. It looks to be that way on the reflectivity side of things. Watching that little hook appendage there in Blanchard. Right now it's nothing. Just don't get excited. But something I'm going to watch for because it's going to come into a favorable area. So if I have not mentioned your town, you don't have anything to worry about when it comes to tornadoes or really damaging wind. I'm watching all the storms here, and as soon as something jumps out at me, I'm going to jump all over it, right? But this stuff down here, Ninica, Chickasha, they're actually not that bad. This one probably has a little bit of hail with it. The Chickasha storm in Grady County, just off of 44. Going over, what is that, a creek out here? the Washita River. So that's probably got a little small hail, maybe up to about 3/4 of an inch, maybe even up to an inch. So pretty close, maybe quarters. But point is, those two are nothing, and they won't be anything than what they currently are. They have no chance. They're behind this boundary here, so they don't really have any good strong updraft region to feed it. The storm here in Newcastle has a chance for a little something, but we're gotta wait because it's not mature. And this one up here that was mature, still waiting for it to get its act back together. It's just a thunderstorm at this point with some lightning. Alright, so I'm probably going to look around at some other things here so that we don't just talk about a standard garden variety thunderstorm over and over. That is borderline severe. We don't want to do that. Bore you to tears. Bore me to tears. Let's see here. Is that a beginning stage of some slightly better rotation? Possibly. It's got a long ways to go, though. Alright, so we'll see. Let's do a couple round robin here. First off, let me see if the front's moved any on the map. Still rolls through Tulsa, south side of town. Pretty much right along the turnpike, Creek County, back in the southeast corner of Oklahoma County, back to right about Norman, and then back down to Chickasha. So, if you recall, we have those two storms. The one that's right here, so it's going to cross back over this boundary here at some point once it gets out of Oklahoma County into Creek County. We'll have to watch at that point. It could re-energize. And then the other storm we're watching approaching Norman down here will cross over the boundary. So those two is what we'll have to keep an eye on over the next half hour as they cross into that territory. Alright, let me see here. Get that off of there. This is the satellite viewpoint of how these things kind of erupted out in western Oklahoma and been kind of working east. Alright, let me see how this thing looked. Messy photograph, but doable. So Weather Service just put out a statement that said that Storm Midwest City is still intense, but has been on a downward trend for intensity for a while the Chickasha storm has been trending upwards and may become severe soon. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. But that's just kind of the way this stuff goes. If we look at the rotation tracker, I want to show you where the storm really had its best rotation area. And I'm going to make this semi-transparent. And we're going to zoom in. Get back this way. Okay, so remember when I told you that kind of the southwest side coming in had the best rotation? So the strongest rotation is between Mustang. That's pretty much where it developed. And then as it came in right over Will Rogers Airport, between that stretch, that was what its best for the rotation of the storm, where it was a little like right here when it was just about to hit from the airport over, where it's starting to notch up and had that little donut hole reflectivity where any other time, given any of the situation, man, was going to be tornadic, and we lucked out it wasn't. And then he just kind of fell apart after that. And then we've got some shear lines here, but aren't necessarily rotation tracks. And if we look at the hail, let's go to hail. Let's do a 1 hour swath of hail. So you can see that kind of started well southwest of Mustang, moved out over the airport, but the biggest hail was right here over southern Oklahoma City, north of 240, up to Midwest City, and then back out here toward Tinker and to the junction, or the split of 40 to 240. So that is where the biggest hail had fallen. So for all attention, all you roofers out there, you're wanting to know where the hail fell, there you go. Severe hail index right now for the upcoming is out here east on the highway. And anything else I'm going to show you? I think that's good. We can do instant rotation tracker right now. An instant means over here on that split of 240, this is the general area in which the storm is trying to get its act back together. That's all it means. Let's see. What else we got here? Alright, let's go take a peek here and do an updated storm track for this guy here. Probability of a tornado hanging in there at 51%. Nothing on radar that indicate that is imminent anytime soon. But it is getting its structure back. So that's the one thing it needed to do, was get its structure back. It does have an update on the warning. Let me read that to you. Alright, a couple minutes ago, Weather Service indicates a severe thunderstorm warning until 1 a.m. for southeastern Oklahoma County, northeastern Cleveland counties, wind or a storm moving east at 30 near Choctaw, golf ball size hail, 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts. And then we have eastern Oklahoma City, Midwest City, Choctaw, Harris, Spencer, Jones, Tacoma Park, Luther, Stanley Draper Lake, Newalla, Tinker Air Force Base is all right now in the path of that particular storm. And let's see what that looks like when I do a storm track for you. Alright, so that's Hara at 104, Meeker 133, Sparks 146. Now that is just tracking the what really ends up being right now the centroid of the storm, which doesn't really do us justice. So we're going to get rid of that, and we're going to do our own track. Let's see, what do we say, 30? Alright, so let's do this. Let's take the from really where the strongest part of the storm is, which is about 2/3 of the way up of this box, to this point here, out at 30 miles per hour. Okay, so now we've got a couple more towns. So Hara, McLeod, Meeker, Sparks coming at 132, Craig at 145. Now, this is assuming it continues on kind of an east to northeast fashion. If for whatever reason it would try to do more of an easterly jog, then you shift this box south a little bit to kind of hover right along I-40, kind of on the northern side. So let's go back down to our secondary storm. Okay, so also, see this little dashed line right here? So this storm is gusted out also. This is an outflow boundary here, and it's ahead of the line of the storm here. So that's air rushing out. Okay. We still need air to rush back in, and we need this little process here to end, and then we'll see what can happen when it comes to trying to do something nefarious. So it still has a ways to go at recouping, if it ever does, but that's what it's going to have to do. Okay, so let's go back down here for you guys in Norman and Moore, up 35. It's a good thunderstorm. It is not severe yet, looks like. There's no warning on it anyways. Let me take a look at the winds. Right now it's right on top of the radar, terminal Doppler weather radar, so I can get a good look here at the true winds in this, and oh, they're pathetic. 25 to 30 miles per hour. Not even worth talking about. That's a gentle breeze in Oklahoma. All right. Let's see, what else do I have? Let's try this guy. See if he's got anything stronger on his Doppler radar estimates. I see one little pocket here of 37 mile per hour winds. Oh, really getting up there. All right, so that's a lame thunderstorm by Oklahoma standards. Just so you know, if you're not from around here, this is what we call a baby thunderstorm. It sounds loud, it looks mean, sounds mean, and it's a teddy bear. Doesn't have any hail in it. If anything, it's pennies, which is teeny tiny, or dime size, or really maybe less than that, probably pea size hail. That's about the biggest you get out of that. Some lightning, brief heavy rainfall, and that's about it. Not even any wind with it. So we'll see right now, if you notice, you connect the dots. Let me do that for you. Outflow boundary from this storm comes out like this, and it's coming in here, and this outflow boundary comes in here. So what you have to watch is there will be vorticity along this boundary here. Okay, so this storm will have to get its act together for one, and it will have to ride this boundary, and it might, as long as the air is not too cool, which it probably is, but maybe something can happen with it. We'll see. Meanwhile, this guy up here, he's got the original frontal boundary to deal with out ahead of it. And he's going to have to get his act together too if he wants to do something. He's starting to get a little bit better reflectivity structure, but he's got no wind. He's all bark and no bite right now. He does have probably still a little bit of hail though. This little pocket here. So it's probably 3/4 inch hail. Let's go look aloft. Let me see. Maybe it's all elevated. Let's see if it's just hanging up in the clouds. Yeah, there's a little core in there that's just not coming down. So there's some bigger hail there. It's just being lofted and held aloft by the updraft stream. So if I were to turn this back on for you, this is how the rest of the storm looks in a three-dimensional view when you're looking at radar data. So you can visualize the clouds. You have to look at this as though they're clouds, right? All the little puffy clouds you see on the edges of it. It's green here. I could easily change this green color to white to give you that same illusion, but with the radar data, that's what it looks like. And underneath this is our core that we're looking at. These supercells tonight aren't that tall. They're about 35,000 feet. With the last couple, they were up around 50,000 feet. So the atmosphere tonight doesn't have as much lift with it, not as much instability. So storms cannot get that tall as a result. What we call the lapse rates are a lot lower. The Cape values are lower. There is enough instability for storms, obviously, and enough for even severe storms. But and the wind shear is enough for supercells, meaning turning with height. But you also have to have directional shear, but you also have speed shear. Speed shear is winds that increase in speed with height. And although they do increase with speed with height, enough for supercell, they're starting off really anemic at the surface, which precludes the tornado component of this, which is good. Okay, so I think, was this a new warning just came out? Let me take a look. Yep, sure is. Okay, so the severe thunderstorm warning in Norman, the National Weather Service in Norman continues the severe thunderstorm warning for southern Lincoln County, southeastern Oklahoma County, and northwestern Pottawatomie until 1:45. Severe storm located in O'Hara, moving east at 35, 60-mile-per-hour winds, quarter-size hail. We've got eastern Oklahoma City, Shawnee, Choctaw, O'Hara, McLeod, Prague, Meeker, Johnson, Sparks, Newalla, and I forgot how to pronounce that town name. I'm going to have to use my cheat sheet. I haven't seen that town name forever. I don't want to butcher it. Oh, it's not even in my cheat sheet. No, you got to be kidding me. It's got to be in here. Hold on a second. No, it's because I don't know how to spell. That's my problem. Oh, okay. I got you. It's A-lot. Just like the meteorologist in Tulsa. His last name's A-lot. I wonder if he's from the town. Anyway, alright, so let's go to the track on that. Oh, actually, I already had a track up there. We'll do an updated one. Let's clear that. And we'll see what it does. So this is more narrow focus. Meeker to 120, Prague 141, Payton 152. And again, it's severe thunderstorm warning until 1:45 in the morning, moving east at 36. Pretty much hugging the I-40 corridor, points to the north. Alright, and then we got this guy down here in Norman. Hey, guys in Norman, at least you're not getting slammed with hail again. So you got that going for you. I know you guys need a break down there. Can you imagine? Having 3 hailstorms in 1 week? It's ridiculous. Alright. Everything looks good there. I think it's funny, man, when you storm chase at night and you got these live camera shots of just clouds with lightning lit up, and then you just really, you can't even make out half of what you're looking at. And it's a big visual disparity from reality. It's just tough. I always hated night chasing. It's like, unless you're right underneath it, which is where you don't want to be in a tornado, it's just hard to make anything out. Let's see here. All right, so it's good radar structure, reflectivity wise, but it's just thunderstorm. All right, so if you're new here and you've woken up, you're petrified, you're freaked out, you don't get it. Why did you move to Oklahoma if you're going to die every time a storm hits? Let me calm you down. We get thunderstorms here a lot. Florida probably has more storms than we do and more lightning than we do. We're not far behind. A lot of our storms will have lightning with them, brief heavy rain, so sometimes some brief flash flooding or quick runoff. We have that situation depending on where you live. It might be in a low-lying area, or you might not even worry about it. We also have a lot of times some hail with these. Usually hail size behaves about an inch in diameter or less. And then every now and then you'll get these supercell type storms, and they can produce much larger hail. I mean, like huge. We can sometimes get hail the size of grapefruits. Now that is rare, so just don't think that happens every storm. It doesn't happen. Same thing with tornadoes. Tornadoes do not happen here all the time. We average about 50 or so a year. They're very hard to develop. They're not easy. It takes perfect ingredients, which are often lacking some element. And then that affects with how long they are, like how long they last, and then how big they can get. And let's see, I think it's like 78% of all tornadoes is EF0 or EF1. And you're like, oh, I don't know what that is. Okay. EF0, EF1 is wind speeds up to around 65 to 110 miles per hour. What does that do? Just some minor damage. A few shingles, blown off a roof, damage to gutter, siding, broken branches. If you're in a mobile home, that might get tipped over. Otherwise, you might get some minor damage to roof, windows broken, exterior doors damaged, that kind of deal. So that's where most of our tornadoes are in Oklahoma. We have a secondary category that kind of peaks every now and then. That's the EF2s. And then, just so you know, that's followed by EF3s. So these are all increasingly rare as you go up the scale. And then when you get to the EF4s and 5s, they are extremely rare. They're like 2 to 5% at most of all tornadoes. So they're very, very rare. And when they do happen, you get the considerable damage that makes all the news, and rightly so. They're nasty, but thank goodness we just don't get them either here or really elsewhere across the United States. Very low probability event. So odds / statistics / probabilities are always in your favor when we're dealing with storms and tornadoes. So what you just need to do is just stay away from windows. And if you're outdoors, get indoors. And you're going to have the occasional freak deal where you get electric current somehow carries a jolt inside the house. Those do happen. You always hear stories that somehow they worked through the pipes, or they came through the tub, or they came out an outlet, down a light post, or from a window pane. So those freak things will happen, which is why you kind of stay away from those outside walls. Other than that, that's it. That's really what it is. If you find yourself in a tornado, it's always taking shelter at the lowest level of the homestead. Center part of the home, it can be a closet, bathtub, bathroom, stairwell, underneath the stairwells, interior room. You can use a storm shelter both outside, inside, in the garage, under the garage floor, where you park your car. Any one of those will work. So there's pros and cons of each. If you want one that's outside in the ground, old school, just know you have to run outside in the weather elements to do it. A lot of people wait till the last minute. You might have to run out in some hail. You might have to deal with spiders and all that kind of stuff. If you don't get on top of it, so they keep it cleaned out. So that's some issue there. Let me do a storm track here. We'll take this leading edge here, say like this. Oh, they didn't get my whole storm. That's all right. So McLeod, Meeker, Prague, Baden, Still. That's for like kind of like the hail core area and a little bit of the wind. The bottom edge of this track is where would be a potential developing tornado should it ever get its act together. So what was I saying? Oh, storm shelters. If it's in your garage, works great. Obviously, you don't want to park your car where if you can't get under it. You make sure you make some room. Let's see what else we got. If you have those that stand up in like a garage floor, the problem with those is usually I don't know, 1/4 inch steel or something. It's whatever the grade is, steel they have to be. They're very loud, so you would need to make sure you have range ears. You know what range ears means? Those kind, because they'll help to, for the gun shots that you produce, that quick response. Those will help to reduce a quick response of flying, slamming debris against that metal container. So that'll help your ears. If you don't want to do that, just get the little cheapies. And then what else we got? Indoors. So you can do a couple of different deals inside. You can have a reinforced closet. You can get a shelter put inside a room. That's all helpful. You don't have to leave the comforts of your home. You still got Wi-Fi, cell phone signal because you're not underground. So that can help. Really, it's just your choice if you want any one of those. If you're asking me if I have one, I don't have one, believe it or not. I've got a perfectly centered area of the house where I go, should I ever need to. But otherwise, I'm sitting right here telling you guys where the tornadoes are. So you're thinking, isn't that crazy? Why does a weatherman not have a shelter? Isn't that crazy? Well, the weatherman knows what the probabilities are, and the weatherman's a fan of math and statistics. So I guess he lives dangerously. I don't know. But I've got a shelter what I would consider adequate that I just use. I know that the probability of the really big trends are so low, I just don't worry about it. Now, will that come back to bite me one day? Maybe. I don't know. But right now, that's kind of what I chose to do. And I may eventually get a shelter. It's just good for peace of mind. It's just where I'm at right now. I don't think I want to do that because I've been wanting to move for years, but I just haven't moved. So I'm a procrastinator, I guess. So, but if I had my choice, I'd probably get a one put in the garage, maybe the easiest from where I'm at right now. But if you like one or need one, those are some of the kinds that are out there. So our storm has finally did a little something structure-wise to where it's an increase in intensities to hair. So hail sizes are probably coming up a little bit more again. Their algorithms are showing 1.64 inches, so it's back to technically a severe storm. So it'll be one to watch here as it goes in this environment. And then back here, southwest, from Pink, Little Axe all the way down to Norman, this is just a standard thunderstorm, not even severe. It's probably loud though. All these little plus signs you see on the map, that's all lightning strikes. So it's a lot of lightning with this activity. I'm kind of just focused on this one because it's the only one that really deserves any attention at the moment. So if you live in any other parts of the state, you're like, well, how come you're not talking about my area, Aaron? And I'm going, because it's just rain, it's a little lightning, it's no big deal. If it was a big deal, I'd tell you. Let's see what else. Let me update my movement here. Okay. And if I get quiet, it's because either I'm thinking and analyzing, or there really isn't anything to say that I haven't already said. And I don't get excited. I don't use a lot of words and go, that's a really big storm coming. You know, whoa, look at the lightning in that one. I bet you that's really waking some folks up and scaring the kids. I just don't talk like that. So it's a thunderstorm. So I don't know. I'm a little jaded maybe. I'm a little old. Maybe I'm like kids get off my lawn age. I'm not sure what's going on. I like the storms. It's just I don't get all worked up over it. And if I were to be outside and see it, like, oh, that's a nice looking storm. I hope I get some rain. That's how I feel. Is it going to bring me rain? I don't get any hail. I don't have to deal with the roof. And then that's really about it. The only time I've ever really been worried at home was, this was years ago. I was working at Channel 5, and I just finished the shift, but the storms weren't over yet, right? It was one of those long days, nights. I can't remember how to get back up and work. I can't remember. So I get to bed. I'm only asleep for like an hour or so, and then the tornado siren goes off. And of course, I'm just like, what? I'm like, where is it? And then what do I do? Do I pull up radar? Because that's my first instinct, to see if I need to take shelter. Or should I just take shelter first and then pull up radar? I was so exhausted, though. I think I just froze. And then I pulled up, and I think I turned on the TV and looked at the radar from Channel 5 when they were covered. And I go, oh, good. It's like 2 miles from me. And I went back to bed with the siren sounding. Something like that. So that was probably the only time where I got a brief adrenaline run, because I felt naked, like I didn't see it coming. And that's not a good feeling when you're the weather guy and you don't see it coming, right? But you can't be up forever. At some point, your body crashes and you go to sleep. But that's probably the only time where I was ever in a tornado warning situation where I didn't have the information ahead of time. So I get it. I know the feeling. It's not a good feeling. And you got to act quick. So that's why I always tell you, act first and then check out the radar afterwards. Because odds are it's probably, not exactly on your path. It's just a little away. And but the fact that you acted first is a smart move. Get into your shelter, get the kids, get the pets, all that. I'm just watching this guy here. Probability of a tornado is 21%. Pretty low. By the way, I love how you guys have your open conversations on the chats, both on YouTube and Facebook. How you talk to one another, help each other out, give each other ideas. The whole community thing is what makes this work. You can't get that when you're watching, the TV guys at home by yourself, right? Whereas you feel more tied in to each other by doing this over a community approach. You're all watching the storms together. And that way, if you're late, you just come in, you don't know what the information is, and you ask, somebody can say, hey, he just said this, or he's over here now because the other thing died, And all of a sudden, their anxiety went from a 10 down to a 2. And you did that, not me, you did it. So I love the community aspect of these chat windows when it comes to storms. Now, there was a tool on YouTube, the other day, I had to block them. I don't know, some weird bot fake account or something. He just kept saying gibberish, and just to upset everybody. Honestly, I don't know why people do that. Are you that mentally disturbed that you can't just be a normal individual? I don't get it. Honestly, there's some people on the planet, I'm like, really? Why are you here? So he just got banned. So he did all that for nothing. He probably has like 10 accounts though. He probably already came back again. He's probably up right now. I should probably go check. Anyway, still watching the storm out here around Meeker, hugging the I-40 interstate, the tail end of the storm is just right along that boundary, and the roughest part of it's just north of there. So if you guys are in Shawnee going, whoa, what's doing it? No, nothing. You guys are fine. All the heavy stuff's the north side of the interstate. If you look at the wind speeds, still looking fine. The radar from this is only 15 miles away, and it's registering about 800 feet off the ground, so it's got a really good approximation to wind speeds. Meanwhile, this other line that's not really doing much, west of Pink, is the one that'll hit you guys in Shawnee, but it also isn't really much to write home about. It's just some heavy rain, a little bit of lightning. That's about it. And that's it. So this goes to show you, by the way, that you can have severe storms in Oklahoma without a severe thunderstorm watch. You got that? Does that make sense? So oftentimes you will get a severe thunderstorm watch. It will cover a large area of a state. That just means that conditions are right for severe weather, that it's expected. And it should happen within, say, like 4 hours or whatever. A warning means that there is a storm that is severe, contains 58 mile per hour winds, 1 inch size hail or greater, and or a tornado. So that is the two classic categories. And you can have a warning without ever having a watch. And the reason for that is because, a couple things, the region is too small. For example, we were just focused on Oklahoma City metro area for the danger of the severe warning. Stretching a little bit east toward Tulsa, that's only going to be about, 7 counties. It's a really tiny watch. They usually don't issue very tiny watches. And so they'll let the local, the weather service, so this is the Storm Prediction Center, so the weather service office will just handle it as little warnings as needed. So that's how you can get little warnings as needed without a watch. Second reason is, if the atmosphere isn't exactly favorable, it's kind of, then again, that's a confidence issue and there's no watch. So, for example, on the Storm Prediction Center, the outlook was for a 20% chance of a severe thunderstorm watch being issued. That's not a very high probability or confidence level, if you ask me. So, in other words, they're like, we'll probably be a couple of severe storms, but it's not worth alerting the masses for. So, that's kind of how that works. Now, as far as tornadoes, works the same way. You can have a watch or not a watch and have a tornado warning. They're separate from one another. And a lot of times you'll get a tornado watch and there will be no storms at all, or much less a storm that produces a tornado. It does happen. But the watch is just, hey, watch it. We're watching for it. You watch for it. Everybody's watching. A warning means you need to act if you're in the path. If you're not in the path, don't worry about it. So this storm, the last few scans, has weakened again. It's just not doing too good, which is fine by me. Let me see where the front is, because if it's not ingesting the boundary, it doesn't have a chance. And there is the boundary right there. It looks like it's probably right about here, and this may be it here. So it still does have a chance to do something. It's just not. Now let me look on, I need more observations on this map. Let me look at another one over here. Let's see if this tells me anything. These are lame too. Alright, let me go to the mesoscale, or mesonet. Site can't be reached. There it is. Okay. So, front's doing a little snake. Something like this. Yes, that's right over 40. So basically right where that storm is. So I had it right. All right. Yeah, it's a Tri-County area right there. Let me go back and look. Where was I? Here. Yeah, that was it. All right. So that front's doing like this. Which means, I guess I still need to watch it. I'm not sure. If it the storm doesn't re-intensify to some degree, this boundary may mean nothing. And that is a weak cold front boundary, by the way. So if you live anywhere in this region, you're fine. It's not a big deal. It's just this little storm right here. That's the only one we were concerned about. And at one point in time, a long time ago, it looked pretty good. It's never looked as good since. Ironically, the better atmosphere for severe weather was a little farther south, just in general. But there was a little bit of a cap, so it's probably why we're not getting anything down here continuing to develop. This has all happened along the frontal boundary back out here in western Oklahoma. So it kind of developed along the boundary, then broke off the boundary, moved east, and then ended up crossing back over the boundary again once it got here. Micah says, coming right at me. You'll be fine. Latest on this, is there a new update on the warning? Yeah, a couple minutes ago. It's good timing. Severe thunderstorm warning continues to 1:45 for southern Lincoln County, central Potawatomi. Severe storm located near over Meeker, moving east at 35, 60-mile-per-hour winds, and quarter-size hail. We got Shawnee, Prague, Meeker, Johnson, Sparks, and Adalot. There you go. So that will look like, let me clear this, and this, the leading edge of it here. Meeker 123, Prague 143, Payton 154, Bowie 202, and Castle 212. Rough time of arrival. This thing's still showing me anything. What about you? Hail size has come up a little bit to almost 1.5 inches. So if you haven't noticed, if you do live here in Oklahoma and you're new, you will have to learn your town names surrounding you and your counties that you live in. And probably in some states you could care less, go your entire life, and it'd be just fine. Here, it doesn't work that way. You do have to know where you live in relation to towns and cities, because you're going to see them on maps all the time when it comes to storms. So that way you have your bearings. And know that most storms move from a west to east fashion here in Oklahoma. And then from there, it's either a little bit to the southeast or it's to the northeast. But it's always a general west to east flow. It's very rare they move in any other direction. It takes a special weather event for that to happen. Let's go look upstairs because I'm bored with this storm already. Let's see if there's anything even worth looking at. 35,000 feet tall. It's got this little core in it, which hardly has any big hail. It's got one tick of purple. See that? Oh, there's a little bigger there. What value is that though? Hold on, I'll tell you. Oh, that's only 60 dBz. So there's a few hailstones aloft, still holding 25,000 feet to about 10,000 feet. So those are being held by an updraft. So if I were to drop this like this, I included more raindrops and hail around the bigger hail, but that's what that core looks like. And a lot of times I don't care about the smaller hail or the heavy rain. I want to see the big hail. So I usually cut it off at about 60 dBz. So that's what that is. So when an algorithm trips it golf ball size hail, then that's what I look for. Alright, meta-wise, that's the way the storm looks on a three-dimensional view. And it's just neat. Sometimes it's has value to it, and other times it's just eye candy. This one never did get a severe thunderstorm on it. Now, I will tell you this. 4, 5, and 9 are still covering this storm. Now, here's the deal. It's not tornadic, and it's not anywhere close to being tornadic. In the old days, we would do cut-ins, meaning that we would do like commercial time cut-ins, right? There'd be some national show or whatever, and we'd take the commercial breaks or whatever. And we'd say, okay, here's the latest setting here, and then 10, 15 minutes later, with another cut in, right? That's the way it used to be. Now it's you stay on and you tap dance until your feet fall off because the other guy is tap dancing too, and the other guy's tap dancing. And so you all are competing with one another that you have to stay on the air and you can't go off. So the news will try to find anything and everything they can get your attention with. So they'll do like recaps of where there was some damage, or they'll go to 5 different chasers all saying the same thing. Everybody's repeating each other because they got nothing new to say, and it's a lame storm, but they can't get off the air, so they just kind of hem and haw, but they try to keep it, riveting, so that you keep watching, because if you stopped watching, there'd be no ratings, and there'd be no point of them being on the air. So they got to keep your attention. So they do that, and there's always a fear element to it, because fear will drive your motives to act. So it'll get you to keep watching. It's almost like the, how psychologically you have the human mind has an issue with ignoring the tragic. So for example, like you're driving on the road and there's a car accident. What's the first thing everybody does? Slow down and look. It's just human nature. We're built that way. So you take that little example and you can apply it everywhere. So television takes advantage of that, and the weather takes advantage of that. So that's why that's done. But going back where we all used to just do cut-ins on commercial breaks, we all used to do that. And then it got so competitive to where when one person never went off, the rest are like, oh, so that's how this is played. Well, then we're not going off either. And once you let the genie out of the bottle, you can't put it back in. So that's where it is now. So if you ever wondered why they just keep going on and on and on, now you know. Even when there's really not much to talk about. So for example, I normally would have signed off a long time ago and gone to bed. But I decided to stay up a little bit longer to tell you about what normally happens. But I'm about to sign off. And I probably won't sign back on because I got to work tomorrow. The only thing frustrating for me is with the boundary interaction, you're like, what if I sign off and then something happens? And I was just on, 10 minutes ago or 20 minutes ago. That's the frustrating part. I've done that where I've done these 6-7 hour cut-ins, and I had to stop to go and take a break, and then during my break where I'm eating, a tornado warning happens. I'm like, you got to be kidding me! I was sitting in front of that radar for over an hour, staring at stuff that was never going to produce a tornado. It tried 100 times and never was going to do it. I finally go and take a break, and then it doesn't. You know how frustrating that is. Oh, that'll really get you going. So, anyway, the structure on this storm is sadder than it's ever been. It's not even lined up right. It's linear. It has no supercellular structure with it from as a cyclone development or anything like that. So, I'm going to call it. But I do appreciate you guys watching here tonight. Hope it was educational, and hope it helped you out, gave you what you needed to know. Calm, cool, collected information you could act on. As far as the rest of the tonight is concerned, this storm still could at any point in time between now through Muskogee County still may produce a weak brief tornado. It could still happen. There's still 2 more hours of this to go, but I'm gonna have to be asleep. So use my weather app if you live along the I-40 corridor, because that is where the storm is going to continue to stand at anchor. It will kind of drift north, probably just a hair with time. But that's pretty much it. It's like Okmulgee. I'll label you some towns, ready? So I'll tell you. Matter of fact, let me just show you. Alright, so again, we're talking about a path that runs like this and runs like this, give or take. So with that, we're looking at Prague, Boley, Okima, Welty, Beggs, Okmulgee, Henrietta, Chakotah, Summit, probably Muskogee, Braggs, and probably down to Van, Marble City, Tin Killer, Stillwell. And that's probably about it. And I don't even think it'll last that long. I think once it gets toward Muskogee County, I think it falls apart. So for about the next hour, as it tracks from here to Okmulgee, well, I won't say hour, good grief, 2 hours. It's not that fast. It may still try to do something, but that's about it. I have a warning alert for Tulsa, and it says storms entering the area. I'm like, storms entering the area? I already had that happen. And so I was like, oh, I've got a warning for Tulsa. I forgot. It's set up on my safety net alerts. So remember, you can set up your safety net alerts to warn you for anywhere you want. So there you go. I just looking one more time. The meteorologist in me just always is one last look. One last chance. One last look. Are you going to do anything? Should I leave it? Should I bail? Decision time. I go, I'm going to bail. Like, it better not do anything. Alright, so anyways, those are the communities in the path for the next hour and a half. Thanks, guys, for staying up with me. And like I said, I hope everything worked out for you. I hope you didn't get too much damage or too much rain or too much whatever. And everybody's alright. So thanks for watching. Be safe. Use my weather app, AT's Weather to Go. They'll always alert you to these storms and give you plenty of lead time if they're approaching, and then that way you can check out radar on your own, which is on the app itself. You can even pull up the high-res radar, so you can track your own velocity data if you really want to get crazy and geeky. You can touch the thing at the bottom, which is the legend, which is colors like red and green. If you touch and hold, you drag, you get values, say like 50 miles an hour, 60. And you can correlate that with the radar picture. So if you see a bright green on the map and you go down there and you touch bright green on the thing, you're like, ooh, I got 70 mile an hour winds coming. I better get away from the windows. So you can be your own little meteorologist. I give you the tools to do it. Okay, guys, be well, sleep well, and we'll do this again, hopefully not soon. But I will talk to you later. Good night.